All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So now we're going to go to the minutes from February 20th and the summary for publication.
I'll move that.
Steve,
I can second.
thanks, Josh. Are there any questions on that at all? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Minutes of the boards, we've got Pine County Surveyor Report and the Pine County Zoning Board minutes.
I'll move.
Thanks, Matt.
Second.
Thanks, Josh. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then we need to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move it. Second.
Thanks, JJ. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And we're going to go on to the regular agenda. We've got, excuse me, the Land Advisory Committee. Excuse me. So we need to pass some resolutions on this one. The first one is to classify the listed parcels of land as non-conservation lands, authorize and allow to distribute the parcels of land to the local governments for review, request review, and approval from the Department of Revenue for the sale of the said parcels of land, which would be resolution 2024-09. Does anybody have any questions about that? Now, can we have a motion to approve resolution 2024-09?
I'll move that.
Thanks, Matt.
I'll second.
Thanks, Josh. Got a first, a second. Once more, any questions? Not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I oppose.
Thank you. Motion carried. And then withdraw from 2023 land parcel. This is resolution 2024-10 to allow Pine County to withdraw from sale all unsold parcels of land from the past tax forfeited land sale, including the September 15th tax forfeited land auction effective July 12th, 2024. And that's so that they can get revalued and put back on for the 2024.
Kind of standard procedure to pull them off.
Right. Yep.
I'll move that.
Thanks, Matt.
I'll second.
Thanks, Steve. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I oppose.
Conveyance of tax forfeited land to Windermere Township. Resolution 2024-11 to authorize Pine County Auditor to offer the sale of Windermere Township for a total of $1 plus recording deed tax, deed fee, and the state assurance fees, which is 3%, as may be required parcel 330487 located in Windermere Township and described as, and that goes on. This is either part of a roadway or it's part of a drain easement, the drain ditch. So there's two parcels in Windermere that we're looking at doing this for, and it is the road and it's the drainage easement.
I'll move that, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Matt.
I'll second.
Thanks, JJ. Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. And then we have the second resolution 2024-12, which is authorizing the withdrawal of parcel 335752, lot 4 from 1971 rearrangement of lots 103 to 110 in Sturgeon Island. And that would be for a total value of $50 plus recording deed tax, deed fee, and state assurance fee. I think this was the ditch.
That was that
This
wetland
is-
area kind of, yeah.
The water.
I'll move that.
Thanks, Matt.
I'll second.
Thanks, JJ. Any questions on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then we have the Land Department Access and Easement Policy, which was included in your packet. It's just adding non-inclusive easements to be granted. So we've only had exclusive easements, and now it'll be non-inclusive, which is it can go forward after you pass away or sell your land to somebody else. We have a motion to update the Land Department access.
Madam Chair, can I ask?
Yep.
Is that I thought that's the way it had been, but I guess I was wrong.
I think we all kind of thought that's the way that it was.
Okay.
They found out that,
So it's just a cleanup of language,
Right.
basically.
right, it's just adding that you can, that it's non-inclusive easements will also be granted.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Steve.
Second.
Thanks, Matt. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Did you, or did the committee talk to like, get any input from any private sector realtors, brokers, licensed brokers? What they do in the same similar situations, or how does that?
I think that, no, I don't believe we did. Part of this is that right now we have one person that had wanted to get an easement, but the deal is that when he passes away, it would not go to his children. And we're not moving forward with that request. However, I think that might have been when it was found. Does that sound right? That we had it so that only that one person would get that easement, which is not what we would want to do. We would want to make sure that it would go on with the property.
I'm just curious if that's what, what goes on with non-county land. I'm sure there's good wealth of information with realtors and brokers.
There is, and it goes either way. So you can do an exclusive easement or a non-exclusive easement. This just gives us the opportunity to choose.
Thank you.
Yep. So we have a motion by Steve, a second by Matt. Are there any other questions? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I oppose.
Motion carried. Thank you. Health and Human Service report. That'd be Matt or Steve. Do you want to talk about it at all?
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, I'll start that off. We had a meeting on February 23rd. And the main crux of the meeting was with public health. There's two new sources of grant funding. There's a RSG grant for $126,000 per year. And there's the FPHR grant for $220,548 per year. So it was trying to figure out what to do and how to use the dollars and what kind of programs. And so we had a lot of discussion trying to figure it out. Didn't really make any decisions yet. And they're gonna try to do some more looking into it and see what they can and bring it to the personnel committee. And we'll deal with it there and see what we can come up with or try to find a balance of things. And maybe it'll go back to Health and Human Service at times, or maybe a shared. I don't know that yet but
There's some opportunities, I believe,
yeah.
to expand our capacity. And one thing most of as any grant goes, it's not to supplant what we're already doing, except for the McVie program, which our family home visiting program has been very successful. And that's been funded out of a grant that we put that money aside. We've been spending that down. We knew there would be an end date. We'd run out of that money and help me, David, two years, one more year. And
The McVie grant.
yeah, and this will allow us to continue to pay for that program.
Good.
So that's one thing. And then they've got a couple of program expansions that I think would be very beneficial to Pine County to help us build our capacity for possible
And McVie runs out in what, 1 year or 2 years or something?
one and a little over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
But the thing that we're always lacking in is planning for the worst case scenario that could happen. And these grants are designed to allow us to do that. So that will come back to the personnel committee before it comes before the board.
Madam Chair,
Mhm.
they are grants. They are formula-driven grants that are in the base state budget. So they're not guaranteed, but they're not a finite grant, like it's a 2-year grant for X amount of money.
Okay.
It's base funding.
It's in the base, so nothing is ever guaranteed, but it's about as guaranteed as you can get.
Good. Are there any questions for the Health and Human Service Advisory Committee? We have a motion to accept or is this information?
No, it's information.
Okay. Okay. And then we are gonna go on to,
2.1 Court Security Committee.
I was just looking at this, but this was, do we want to talk about the HRA and the EDA?
Madam Chair, that can be done as part of the committee updates or
Okay.
commissioner updates.
Okay, sorry about that, everybody. So we have the Pine City District Court Security Committees. And that was a committee that was in the past and they want to reconvene that. And I did ask Matt if he would be willing to serve on that again, and he said yes. So I would like to appoint Matt to be on this committee. Do we need to vote on that? No? Okay, so thank you, Matt, for being willing.
And I did hear from the court administrator that Judge Stefan will be facilitating the committee, and he is expected to have some potential dates out next week.
And then 2.2, the COW meeting, and Dave just said that May 14th was the date that worked best for Hughes.
So, sorry,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
so is that gonna who's gonna handle putting it on our calendar?
Is the court gonna come back or who's gonna set it? The court.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Ludwig, if it follows past practice, right? So Judge Martin facilitated it for a while, and then Judge Flanagan did for a while, and they each have their own nuances, right? But typically, the law clerk would send an email to all the committee members. And then once a meeting was established, Debbie or I would put it on the commissioner calendar.
Okay, thanks.
Right. So now we're going to move on to the COW meeting with Hughes, and they had stated that May 14th was the date that worked best for them. Will that work for everybody else?
Works for me.
For me.
You want a motion, Madam Chair?
I think everybody else is still checking.
Okay.
I'm open for the 14th.
It's a Tuesday, yeah.
Good work.
You good, JJ?
Yep, 14th will work for me.
All right. Yes, if you would please make a motion. Steve, did you want to make?
Yep, I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thanks, Josh. We have a first by Steve and a second by Josh. And the date looked like it was good for everybody. So all those in favor of having committee of the whole on May 14th, say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Right.
Opposed? Motion carried. We were on commissioner updates. So we had Arrowhead Counties Association was canceled. AMC Legislative Conference, it was Dave and I that went. I think the big thing that I heard was that there are no promises at this point. We asked about money for the jail and we were told no promises, and it doesn't sound like it's a reality as of today. Health and Human Service, we had the Commissioner of Health and the Commissioner of Human Services were both there and talked. There is a meeting coming up maybe on March 12th, that's going to be with the counties, states, and tribes, which is what we have been pushing for, which is really exciting that we're getting that moving. Anything that you want to add? You went to different meetings than I did.
Yeah, I think the big push, or one of the big pushes from AMC and the Land Committee saw how impactful that Tyler decision was, is to get some legislation to clear up the tax forfeit process. And I'm not aware of any progress so far, but I know we did impress upon our legislators that it's important that they address the shortfalls in the law.
I found that when you go to the legislative meeting at the reception that AMC puts on for all the legislatures and the senators, I ended up meeting, I can call him young because he's younger than I am, but gentleman that I graduated from high school with, he's a couple years younger than me. And he's one of the legislatures for Hennepin County. And he said, is there anything that I can do to help you? And I said, yes, the SIS system is horrible. And he goes, I work on that system every day. He works for the state and that's his job. And I said, good, then you know how important it is. So it's important to go to those. It's not my happy place, but it is important. City River Management Board, unfortunately, is still rocking. It came back from Kanabec County that they need to see dirt moved on anything, on a project under 20,000 and a project over 20,000. I asked them about the big project coming up on Pokegama Lake, and that one will not qualify because there's not going to be any dirt movement. It's more doing testing to see what's going on. So we don't know what's going to happen with that committee.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
So to be clear on that, we're trying to get out of that board. Because one watershed, one plan is the exact same thing. And they are refusing to let us leave. So they won't let us take our money and they won't let us get out of it. So 2 counties want to leave and 2 want to stay. You got a majority.
So with that, we've got 2 insurance payments. We're paying two administration fees. We're paying financial advisors for both committees. I mean, it's a total duplicate of spending. But it's Mille Lacs and Kanabec are still holding tight, and Aiken and Pine are asking to dissolve. So, yeah.
Because they feel that one watershed, one plan, they need to see it work before they're willing to give up on Snake River Watershed Management Board, which it's working. We got 2 of them working in Don County already. Or 3.
And that was brought up. Aiken County did a really good discussion because I think they're on 5, I think he said, on a few. And so, he talked about how well the program works, but they just want to make sure that the employees are going to do what they're supposed to do. So we don't understand it's the same employees doing the same job. Yeah.
What was our contribution to that from?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Ludwig, it is about $9,000 to $10,000 a year. The Snake River Management Watershed Board did not collect any payment in 2023. It is not planning to collect any payment in 2024. And the issue that Commissioner Moore was raising with the funds is there's a significant fund balance. And Mille Lacs and Kanabec are happy to let Pine and Aiken leave, but it takes a majority of the board to authorize the leaving parties to give a refund of their previous contributed tax. And so we've decided we're staying at the table until we can leave with the money.
Which is a little over 40 grand. Or almost
Uh,
50.
I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's enough to make it worth staying.
Yeah.
It's going to dwindle by the time this is done. No. So it was interesting because Mille Lacs County did say, we know that this is going to happen, and asked if we could ask the auditors to do our final audit before we dissolve the committee, which you don't do. So there was some confusion as far as that went, but I mean, they know that the end is coming, and I think that they all see that it's going to be this year. We don't have a meeting now until June. Is it June?
June, yeah.
Yeah, with that board. And so, because there's no plans, there's nothing happening. Everything was removed from that committee. So all of the projects were moved to the one watershed, one plan.
I mean, those dollars should be.
Right. So there's nothing on the membership board anymore. And now Lex was canceled, but we did have a meeting with Mille Lacs Band. Steve, do you want to go there? Do you want to talk about Mille Lacs Band?
I'm having trouble hearing today.
Oh.
Yeah, we did have a meeting with the Wax Band and not finding my notes, Terry, so you're gonna have to help me out here.
I'm excited. We invited Melanie, the chief executive.
Yeah.
John Blake, to come to one of our board meetings to show her appreciation, and I'm excited about that. She has done so much to just having the county being able to work with the tribe and opening doors on the projects that they've been able to do. The election is in July and she is not going to run again. So sometime at an upcoming meeting, we'll be having Melanie Benjamin come to our meeting so that we can show our appreciation for what she has done. to bring our communities together. We did talk to Sam Moose was there. He is the new administrative.
Commissioner of Administration.
Thank you. And he did work in Health and Human Services up in Carlton, through Fond du Lac. And he said that they had a really good relationship there that he wants to continue. So we talked about continuing that with Pine and that the door is open here and that we've had a good relationship. We just wanted to keep that going. Anything else you can think of?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
We did talk about the statement of principles that was adopted in 2016 between the county and the band. And the idea that we would review that and potentially bring that forward for more discussion and any updates after the new chief executive was elected and serving.
Real quick,
Yeah,
how long was she?
20 some years.
Yeah, I don't know the exact date. It was,
It's
Right around.
Consecutive or was she off and on?
I thought she was off for one term.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
She has done some amazing work and she just wants to be a grandma now and I can't,
Good for her.
yeah, I can't hold that one against her. Housing, the HRA, EDA.
HRA?
Yep.
Yep. It was a normal meeting for the most part. Sandstone has one opening, Finlayson is fully rented. Let's see, Leslie firmed up we approved the housing plan and the dollars are gonna go to the HRA and EDA for that grant. We've talked about it a couple times, so that we approved it at the board level, so then she reports it back to that board that the funding will flow into that board and that body for housing. They are going to meet with, I think that manager, Paul, is gonna meet with the people where they're gonna purchase that North Court. That's still in the works. And it sounds like that they're gonna stop managing that the company is wherever it is.
Madam Chair, so Commissioner Ludwig, I just received an email this morning from Robert Pickering from Accord North Court. And Trellis has agreed to stay on as their management agent through the sale of the property. And
He's going to?
Yeah.
Okay, I missed that.
That just takes that off the table.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So, and there's still, and there's a little bit of discussion of doing a visit, site visits and stuff like that, see if there, but I think it's such a reasonably priced building for the 8 apartments that it's no matter what. And then Leslie did a lot of presentation on stuff in the housing programs that are built, the childcare things, she updated them and all that stuff that's happening. And otherwise, it was pretty much a pretty quick meeting.
What about the tax abatement for Lakeside Center?
Madam Chair, if it's all right with Matt, I can speak to that. So the developer of the Lakeside is requesting tax abatement for what is the old Lakeside Nursing Home. And that will be on the county board agenda for the 19th. The HRA EDA did recommend approval of that. So there'll be a packet of information about that project and about what the abatement would look like and what the request is at your next meeting.
Okay. I'm so glad they're doing something with that.
Beat that.
Labor negotiations. Labor Negotiations Committee.
We're at impasse.
No,
Oh, we have an update?
no, I'm sorry, Matt, we're not at impasse because that's a technical term that would put into place some other things. We met, we did not make any progress. I think we had good faith discussions, but no progress. So we do have a future meeting date scheduled to continue.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, we
I just,
see it one more time.
and I would just like to say I did miss it and I apologize to both of them. By the time I figured out I missed it, it was over. So, so I'm Matt and David and Jackie took it.
Are there any others?
I got one other, that's what I was looking for. Arrowhead Transit which runs the Arrowhead buses, we had a advisory committee meeting the afternoon after our last board meeting. And they're kind of getting a little bit reorganized because some people have left, they were due to retirement. But Joe Gentile was with Arrowhead from day one when we joined him, and he had retired the first of the year. So, you know, it's just something different to talk to. One of the issues we've had, and I talked about it before, was with volunteer drivers or both our veterans driving our vans, and we used to rely on volunteer drivers a lot for medical appointments for MA people. And they just don't exist now. We have 2 volunteer drivers for the general hospital appointment type things left in Pine County that we know that sign up through Arrowhead.
Okay.
The VA drivers are down significantly. So we have a critical shortage in that arena. And we're not sure if we might have to start hiring a driver to drive the VA van. A lot of counties have done that. Just so something you're aware of. It's a budget item. It's not a huge ticket item, but it is going to show up possibly if we don't get volunteer drivers.
I have a question about the buses.
Yeah.
So I had a gentleman that called and I had stated, you know, you should really come to a meeting and talk to the whole board about his concern. And he said he could not because he couldn't drive. And he said that the Arrowhead buses will pick him up at his house and take him to the town, but he doesn't have a bus that will take him from like one town to here. So do the buses only go like Pine City does Pine City, Hinckley does Hinckley?
I could be wrong, but yes, you know, if you call Dial a Ride in Pine City, they'll take you to a doctor's office or to Walmart or wherever you want to go in Pine City.
Okay,
If you call Dial a Ride and say, I want to go to Hinckley, then they have to get they're on a scheduled bus to go to the town to town. And then that's where one of the flaws in the system exists.
okay.
We don't have a lot of good connectivity from town, you know, from say a business A to business B from one town to the next. Within say Pine City, which I'm most familiar with, the Dial a Ride system works really, really well.
Okay,
But outside of that, because of the volume of calls, they can't afford to have people on staff to take that one call a day or whatever. So they have to make a business decision not to do it.
well, because of the concern on health, so public health and getting people to doctor's appointments and that type of stuff, there's going to be a meeting coming up with SHAC that's going to be just discussing transportation and what we can do.
I think it's much bigger than just Pine Counties.
It's all over.
All over. And it's, you know, we've worked really hard to try to keep people in their home as long as possible. And that's worked maybe too good, if that's possible. And now people are still in their home. They're self-sufficient in their home, but they can't get to some of those critical things that they need to get to in order to stay in their home. Grocery shopping and doctor's appointments are the 2 biggest things. And we don't have the volunteer driver system. Our public transportation system doesn't spread itself out into the countryside as far as we'd like it to, just because of cost.
windshield time.
Yep.
I have one, Madam.
Can I, Madam Chair, add just a little note to that
Mhm.
transportation conversation because it is so confusing because there's so many players. So the MA transports are better funded and are not the critical issue right now. The social services transportations are the ones that we don't have volunteer drivers for, but we still have an obligation as the county to get those folks to their appointments. And by hook or by crook, I know Becky's on the Zoom. I don't know if she wants to give any more into the weeds discussion, but just those are two different things. And then the veterans is not a mandatory,
Right.
but it's a voluntary service that Pine County has put a high priority on with maintaining the veterans vans and whatnot. And then Becky, do you want anything else you want to add?
No, I think you got it right. For the most part, volunteer drivers are just in shortage. But we're seeing it right now, as Dave mentioned, with a lot of social services trips that we're required to provide through various programs and statutes. And then with some medical transports, we are short a few drivers, but that is we're seeing the need all over the board, especially for those aging and disabilities who need handicapped accessible vehicles to get into and out of.
Thank you, Becky.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I can, please.
Go ahead.
There was a presentation about the gaps in, transporting people and trying to coordinate, like you said, where somebody gets a ride to, but they can't get a ride from. And at the ECRDC, somebody did come in. I was just trying to find it in my notes. I believe I reported on it. They are currently looking at something there to try to figure out how to make those connections and to get everybody to work together between the Arrowhead Transit was one and there's other entities just because I guess the way I looked at it, just because you rode there on one brand vehicle doesn't mean they can't help coordinate, share their notes, share their calendars and schedules and try to get a ride back from somebody else. So they're working on that
That
now.
part's been frustrating.
Yeah. Oh, it
To
is.
say the least, because timber trails, they had these territories kind of set up and so Arrowhead couldn't go into their territory, they couldn't come in here, and so they had to develop meet points and it doesn't make sense.
Shouldn't be that complicated, in
No.
my opinion. So ECRDC, I can follow up and see where that is.
And Bob is on Central Minnesota Jobs and Training, and they're looking at doing a presentation on transportation there too.
Yeah.
And he had talked about that during that meeting, but it's a state issue. So you've got Central Minnesota Jobs and Training. You were in a meeting, Shaq is looking at doing a presentation on transportation. So it's all over the board, everywhere you go, I think.
Well, hopefully they can get something figured out.
Yeah, that would be good.
The
Thanks, JJ.
person that needs a ride is who's suffering.
Right.
Go ahead, Matt.
I don't know if you're done with your, I remember, I have one comment on transportation too. I remember one meeting I was in, I think it was Arrowhead, or somebody they come from Duluth down or whatever, and go to the VA. But it's like you have to be at their stop at 5 a.m.
Right.
and they load the van and they pick them all up. And then one guy's appointment might be at 8 and next guy's at 3 in the afternoon. So they just sit
Right.
down there. That's a problem.
Yeah.
And to me, it is, do you organize the appointments? Or do you organize, so they can all happen like this? Or do you have multiple trips or whatever? You can't do multiple trips.
No.
So
It's,
which I think it needs to be organized on both sides, driving and appointments.
and
that
they
might get
try to
efficient.
do that, but it's a limited amount of
Yeah,
facilities.
And then I'm sorry, I just remember that coming up before and it's like, I feel bad for those veterans to just sit too. Anyway, I just was gonna add a comment, the elementary school, the addition on the rock is gone. In a matter
I
of,
buy that on the way home.
yeah, and you actually just see the old original, it's pretty nice looking building. Anyway, she's moving on that, good weather for that.
Beautiful. I I sat in on an ICWA, AMC check-in. So the ICWA policy committee that I'd been on is done. They've got the policy is written. The final draft, I think it's going to be heard in the House maybe this Thursday. So, I mean, it's moving fast. But when we had our AMC check-in and meeting with human service leaders and attorneys, it doesn't look like our staff is going to be able to do everything that's on there. So there's still going to be some issues where we're going to have to step forward and say, this isn't going to work. So that was kind of a big one. You know, you'd think after all the time that was spent on that, but it would go from the counties to the tribes, back to the counties, back to the tribes, back to the county. And so every time the counties would get something that was workable, it would go to the tribes and they would say, nope, that's not workable for us. So then they would do some changes and then it would come back and we're saying, no, you know, one of them was personal service, that you need to give personal service to every adult in the house. Well, how is that possible? Because they're the ones that had to be served personally. And so there's just some things that I think that one got taken off, but it's still in the works. I sat in one that was, Shaq remembered, was responding to immigration in this flux in the US. And I found that 1 out of every 4 Venezuelans have left Venezuela, and most of them are in Ecuador, Colombia, or Mexico, but they are working their way here. And I thought 1 out of 4, that's a big amount of people that are leaving the country there. I thought that was kind of interesting. And then NACO Finance and Pension yesterday was all about elections, election toolkit, which was interesting. Having been in there, you know, we had one guy that said, people are just checking their boxes, and having been one of the people that tested all of our election machines, just checking those boxes it still goes through because those machines pick up that little dot. So that was interesting too. And then yesterday we sat in on a roadmap for the Initiative Tribe. And I just want to say that Pine County is doing everything that we can to see if we can help Mille Lacs become an Initiative Tribe and to help them process that and work through that process with the state. So hopefully we'll see something happening in the future. It would be better for their kids, for the youth, if the tribe was able to take care of it. They have different rules than we do. And so I just think it would be a huge benefit for their families. That's all I've got. Anybody else? Okay, so remember, next meeting is in Pine City instead of Sandstone, and we have the 1 o'clock meeting with about the road in Arna Township. So we have the public hearing at 1 o'clock. And I think you all got the text or the email from Dave stating that you can go look at it, but you can't converse with anybody. So if you do go out to look at it, just know that, you know, we need to keep that. We can't converse with the people that live there, the people that are involved in this.
What was that again? I'm sorry, for the hearing out on,
For the hearing in Arna Township on the road.
so we can go out there, we just can't talk to anybody?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
Madam
Yes,
Chair.
please.
So the County Board of Commissioners is sitting it's a quasi judicial proceeding where you'll weigh evidence and review the law and then make a determination. And so you should not have conversations with interested parties about the proceedings.
Should not shall, should, not recommended, or law.
I always refer law questions to the attorney.
Oh,
Do you want to answer that one, Reese?
Well, I mean, this is an incident, sorry, Madam Chair and Commissioners. So this is an incident where these citizens went through the impassable roads statute and brought a hearing up to the board. And because it's a hearing and because they're the ones that brought it forth, they have the burden of proof. So it's much like I think Mr. Minkin was saying was that it's a quasi judicial situation. And so because they have the burden of proof, they have the burden to bring forth the facts to show it, and you have to decide it. That's what that should be limited to. If you're doing a separate investigation, speaking with other people on the side, that's bringing in facts and things that they should be doing themselves. So that's why it's recommended, as we do in court, not to talk to people beforehand and do your own investigation and such, because it's limited to their burden of proof.
Gotcha. Just not recommended to talk to them. Thank you.
Right, yeah, and it could cloud the record if it came out that there was some independent conversations that informed your decision making. That could be a basis for a lawsuit.
Gotcha. Thank you.
All right, so on that, if there's no other business, we will be adjourned. Thank you.